Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to the next movie review. And well, since Christmas is almost here, so might as well get a couple of Christmas movies in, like I usually do. So I know now. I'll start with this movie that I know that a lot of people enjoy this film. Even my brother, he enjoys the film a lot, and the film made a lot of money when it came out. A lot of people think it's one of another. People would put it on their list of one of the best Christmas movies, which I fully understand. It's everyone has their own opinion how what think is but so the movie we'll be talking about is of Elf, which I also think is also now makes 20 years since this came out in 2003. So 20 years. So it came out. So 2023, 2003, 20 years. So 20th anniversary review of the film. So, but Elf from 2003 stars Will Ferrell. I know people are probably gonna be mad at me for this, but the thing is, I am not a fan of Elf. I know people will be pissed at me for that though. But the thing is, I am not a fan of Elf. Thing is though, I'm not a big fan. I am not a big fan of Will Ferrell. Now there is on an occasion that a film that I did not mind. I like The Other Guys with him and Mark Wahlberg. I like The Other Guys. Michael Keaton's in it, and even the whole thing with Dwayne Johnson, Sam Jackson, between the bushes, and they just fall to their deaths, jump to their deaths. I didn't mind I like the other guys. The other ones for Will Ferrell, I mean Talladega Nights. I actually also do not mind that movie as well. Or speaking of Christmas, another Christmas with Will Ferrell. I don't like the Daddy's Home movies, especially the sequel. I mean, I'm not a fan of Daddy's Home, the first film. I'm not a fan of the second film. I mean, Mel Gibson was the best part of the sequel. But the thing with Will Ferrell, to me, he plays the same shtick over and over again. He basically does the same thing in a lot of his comedies. Although there is a rare occasion, because I think it was years ago that I saw was a Lifetime movie. It was a Lifetime movie, and Will Ferrell starred in that. It was more of a thriller, where I guess he was a psychopathic stepdaughter, I think it was, and he had a mustache. I saw that once, and I'm like on TV. I was like, really, Will Ferrell in a pretty much a very dramatic role dealing with I think it was a psychotic stepdaughter. I think it was. It just reminded me of that movie with the Kevin Costner film, The Stepdaughter, I think it was. But it was kind of like that movie. I'm like, really? Will Ferrell doing that type of role? That's a big 180 for him. Considering considering all the comedy he does. Although I have not seen that film, though, but I'm saying it was interesting to see doing more of a dramatic thriller like that, though. But pretty much the same. But pretty much all his movies, he does like the same thing though. Like almost like a one-trick pony in a way. And I think also before Will Ferrell, I think Jim Carrey was gonna play Buddy in this movie. Now I would have made the film better if it was Jim Carrey, maybe because I think Jim Carrey is much better of a comedic actor than Will Ferrell, and some other comedic actors I think are better than Will Ferrell in my opinion. I think I would rather see Jim Carrey's version of Buddy in Elf, honestly. Even Tim Allen. Speaking of another Christmas movie, which I'll be getting to after this movie, which I'll get to. To me, that's another Tim Allen film. I'm going to be reviewing a Christmas movie with him in it. No, it's not the Santa Claus. I reviewed that one. It's another one. But to me, Tim Allen, I think he's much better. He's better than Will Ferrell too. So, that's one thing. This is like a lot of times he plays like a loud. Will Ferrell does like a loud, obnoxious, annoying characters, Yes, I personally not really big on the Anchorman movies either. If you want to ask though, and I wasn't that big of him on SNL either. To me, SNL nowadays this is shitty upon shit now. But so yeah, I'm not a fan of I'm not overall big a fan of Will Ferrell though. Like I didn't mind Talladega Nights or the other guys, but I'm not a fan of this movie. I'm just making that clear. People will be mad though. People think it's one of the greatest Christmas movies ever. To me, I'll stick with Home Alone 1 and 2. I even stick with Die Hard. Many people say that's a Christmas movie too. Yes, it is. I'll stick with Die Hard even for an action film. But other Christmas movies, Scrooged I think is better with Bill Murray. Even Bill Murray I think is funnier than Will Ferrell. Especially recently, I saw him in Will Ferrell in Barbie, which I think he was also annoying that because in the real world, they don't act like human beings either. Him, like, acting a little all clumsy, like if they're in the real world, his character as a real world human should not act like that. Even he was annoying in Barbie. So, but anyway, all that aside now. I just think that he was even in this film he was very irritating and he was very annoying in this film. But also you have in the cast you have Bob Newhart who plays he's like the head elf of Santa's of the North Pole. He's the one who raises Buddy. You have Ed Asner as Santa Claus, which I think both Bob Newhart and Ed Asner as Santa Claus and Bob Newhart as the I forget his name, but as the head elf, they're both trying their best. They both trying the best they could. But one night, when Santa goes to this orphanage, a baby sneaks into his bag, which I think is his name. His real name is Buddy. Sneaks into his bag, brings him to the North Pole, and they realize it's too late to bring him back. So Bob Newhart raises him. And years later, he's grown up to be Will Ferrell, and he's a lot taller than all the people because he's not an elf. And he realizes that he is not an elf; he's a human. So he wants to find his real family. And there's one scene I did not mind. He's talking to that snowman, which it's that same snowman we saw from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You know, the stop motion animated movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and we see the snowman talking and narrating about the story. It's that same snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop motion movie. So it's okay. It's nice that they bring in that he's talking to that same snowman, you know, because I remember he's carrying the same umbrella, he's wearing the same hat, he has the same mustache, and the same coat he has. So he leaves the North Pole, goes to he goes to New York. Yeah, I think it's New York. And then we eventually he's exploring all this stuff, you know, that he's never seen before because he's raised in the North Pole, you know. And this is where we get a lot of stuff that I thought it goes very, like I said, annoying with Will Ferrell. Especially one annoying scene where he's yelling and screaming because it's one of those rotating circular doors. You know, you go to a place and it's one of those rotating glass doors. He's like going in circles over and over again, screaming and screaming. Ah! Ah! I'm like, Jesus Christ! This is the stuff that this is the same shtick that I think is why I think Will Ferrell is annoying. And he sees a lot of things. He goes to like one mall. I think where there's a mall Santa. I say, oh, you're not the real Santa. You sit on a pack of lies. And then he goes and gets into a fight with that Santa. And this is where he meets with Zooey Deschanel, who works as a mall elf. And Zooey Deschanel, which I think the last time I reviewed that film, which she was in The Happening, M. Night's best comedy ever. M. Night, The Happening. I'm like, great. Although, yeah, I guess I'd probably say she's better here than The Happening, but that ain't saying much though. To me, I think her sister is much better because her sister plays in the TV show Bones, which my dad's been watching a whole lot. You know, my dad really enjoys that show. So to me, I think her sister is better is better than better than Zooey. You know, at least I mean her sister in Bones. At least she's looking like all, you know, wide-eyed and all that stuff, right? But anyway, but so and I think the one thing I did not mind Zooey Deschanel in, it was years ago. She was started that sci-fi miniseries interpretation of The Wizard of Oz. It was called Tin Man. Because I remember, because it was Richard Dreyfuss, Alan Cumming, even Neil McDonough was in it. So I think that's one thing I did not mind her in. It was that miniseries Tin Man. But overall I'm not big on Zooey Deschanel either. But he meets her, and then eventually when he finds his father, is played by James Caan. James Caan, rest in peace to James Caan, which he passed away last year, sadly. I enjoy James Caan as an actor. He's a great actor. I enjoy him. He was a fun bad guy in Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I enjoyed him when he was much younger, when he starred in the John Wayne film El Dorado. Very young James Caan. I liked him in the original Rollerball. He starred in that sci-fi film called Alienation, which I think he hates. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like his own film on that film. I don't know why. Even I thought he was also a good bad guy in the comedy action film Bulletproof with Adam Sandler and Damian Wayans. And I also really enjoy Misery, Stephen King's Misery. Just beats the shit at the end. Just beats the shit out of Kathy Bates. You want it? Eat it! Eat it till you choke! You sick, twisted fuck! I enjoy James Caan. Rest in peace to James Caan. He plays Buddy's real father, and sadly, though, this is one of my least favorite performances from James Caan, though, sad to say. I mean, by the end of the film, when he changes his mind and he believes in Chris and all that, like the same thing, right? Me being the angry father, then being all forgiven and stuff. Now, I just don't really buy his, what's the word? Not forgiveness, but him redeeming himself. That's the thing. I don't buy him redeeming himself by the end of the movie. I mean, when he meets with Will Ferrell, saying, "Oh, you're my father," first he doesn't believe it, and if he wants to prove that he is his son, then he goes and works for, because James Caan, he works for this children's book company, and there's like he's trying to, like he temporarily stays at his place, I think, because we see Will Ferrell, he's eating a lot of junk food, a lot of syrup and stuff like that. There's one point where he picks up a used chewing gum and eats it. I'm like, oh, it must be, was it some kind of Christmas special? I don't know what it was. I'm like, jeez, you know. And well, look at that, he's eating junk food and a lot of syrup and spaghetti and syrup. You know, that's funny, you know, and it's not. And then when he tries to work with James Caan for the company, of course there's this instant where Peter Dinklage, yes, he's from Game of Thrones, and recently he just starred in the prequel to The Hunger Games. Even Peter Dinklage, I think he's an idiot as well, because he was the stupid comments he said about the new Snow White movie, which that got a ton of backlash because of the cast. Snow White. It was she also starred in The Hunger Games, the prequel of The Hunger Games, the Battles of Songbirds and Snakes. Even he made some stupid comments about that in the somewhere. I'm like, Peter Dinklage, you're pun intended, you are a little idiot. But I mean, I'm not really big on Peter Dinklage anyway, so yeah, I don't watch Game of Thrones anyway, so I don't give a shit about the show either. But because Peter Dinklage, he's like a boss for a company that James Caan wants to have help with his company, and Will Ferrell sees him and he thinks he's an elf because of his size, and Will Ferrell he gets the shit kicked out of him by Peter Dinklage. It's like, just say it again. Call me an elf. You're an elf. I'm like, part of me says yes, please beat the shit out of Will Ferrell, please, because he's annoying. He's annoying twat. That's what he is. Please beat the shit out of him some more. So that's when James Caan gets pissed at him, yells at Will Ferrell, tells him to get lost. Oh, and which by the way, his original mother, Will Ferrell, who died when he was born. So James Caan, he remarried. His new wife is played by Mary Steenburgen. Sorry, I mispronounced her name again. Mary Steenburgen. She stars in the CSI Vegas TV show. She was in Aaron Brockovich. She's been Species. She plays as his new wife, and they have a son, which Will Ferrell kind of tries to have a little bond with. Oh, and Jon Favreau, which, by the way, this film was also directed by Jon Favreau as well. He stars in this as well as a doctor, talking with James Caan. Yeah, I forgot to mention, Jon Favreau directed this film, which I enjoy. Iron Man. I even enjoy Zethura. Zethura, I think, is it's the outer space version of Jumanji, but I think he's supposed to be in the same world, I think. I think Zethura is a little bit underrated. I think it is. He directed that film. I enjoy that. I enjoyed Cowboys and Aliens. I said I like the first Iron Man. Even as an actor, I liked him in Daredevil, which I also reviewed not that long ago. I liked his buddy, not buddy, but friendship he had with Ben Affleck in the movie of Daredevil. As friends. I mean, Jon Favreau is not that bad of an actor. I mean, I did not mind him when he played Happy Hogan in the MCU though. But and of course later he goes and directs the Jungle Book 2016 remake, and then he directed the 2019 Lion King remake, which I thought was just pure dog shit. One of the biggest insults of remakes I've seen in a long time. But Jon Favreau, I mean, I enjoy Cowboys and Aliens. I like the first Iron Man. Yeah, the second Iron Man, so I will probably say I have to rewatch that again. But I think Zethura is a bit underrated, But Jon Favreau, I mean, he's done better. I think even I would say that Zethura is better than Elf, which I think he did after Elf, so. But and so afterwards, after all the whole big fights they have, they found out that Santa has been arrested, so they have to get his sleigh because it needs to be charged again because it needs Christmas cheer. And by the time when they get out, they need to get the sleigh going, to get the Christmas magic going. And so this is why I think I don't buy James Caan him redeeming himself, because his son has a little talk with them, and then his son says a few words to him, and that's why I'm supposed to buy that he redeemed himself, because yes, by the end when the sleigh is about to go, he's the last one to give the sleigh the last big jump, in fuel, you can say, singing Christmas cheers and all that stuff, and then it's when the sleigh goes, and now he forgives his son. I'm like, do I really buy him for forgiving his son? But all is well that ends well. So, because I mentioned that even he took Zooey Deschanel on a date. Forgot to mention that. He takes him out on a date, even showing them the ways of what he saw from before, even going back around to that rotating door, screaming his head off. But by the end, she moves to the North Pole with him. They get married. They have the kid. Even before, I think where she, even it was important. I forgot the Will Ferrell sits on Bob Newhart, because it's supposed to be funny because a big guy sitting on a little guy, sitting on an elf that he's too big for him. So, and then James Caan he publishes his new book called Elf, about his son Buddy, an elf, or I think he calls it Buddy the Elf. And it becomes a hit. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Elf. I really am not. Like I said, people can get mad at me. My brother can get pissed at me for it. But the thing is, though, I'm just not a big fan of Will Ferrell as a thing, because pretty much 90% of his movies is pretty much doing the same thing, the same comedic shtick he always does. You know, being all hyper and stuff like that. You know, I mean, yeah, I did not mind the other guys, and I did not mind Talladega Nights. There's a couple of those. I think I didn't even mind him long ago when I reviewed the Lego Movie, where he was the figure, the business guy, you know. And then, of course, he plays a real life counterpart of him, you know. I mean, there is a one or two things I didn't mind about Will Ferrell, though, in a couple of films, but overall, he just keeps on playing. He plays the same thing over and over again. And a lot of times he's so hyper and becomes annoying and irritating, just like here in this film. I think he sucked as Buddy. Like I said, he's annoying, he's irritating, you know, I can go, I'm just not a fan of. Overall, I'm not a fan of Will Ferrell. I think he does the same thing a lot of times in his movies, and this one is one of another annoying performance from him. I know people probably think it's funny because this film made a lot of money when it came out. People think it's one of the best Christmas movies. I'd rather stick with Scrooge. I'd rather stick with Home Alone 1 and 2. Die Hard, I would easily put over this. Hell, even Ernest Saved Christmas. I reviewed that I remember. I reviewed that a long time ago. I even say that Ernest Saves Christmas is better. And hell, even Jim Varney, rest in peace to Jim Varney, he's a much better comedic actor than Will Ferrell to me is. You know? Even Pee Wee Herman, which I'm not really big on Pee Wee Herman, but I don't think he's better than Will Ferrell. But we disagree. Yeah, but I would say Jim Varney is much more funnier than Will Ferrell. Jim Carrey, another Jim, Jim Varney, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is much funnier than Will Ferrell. I think to me it would have made the film better if he played Buddy. Because if I'm mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong though. I think he was supposed to play Buddy. I think he was. I don't remember, but to me, I think it would have been better if it was Jim Carrey. But there's other comedic actors I think are much better than Will Ferrell. I mean, Ben Stiller I think is much funnier. Who else? I said Chevy Chase I think is much funnier. Chris Farley, rest in peace. I think he's much funnier. David Spade. Or some of the people I think on SNL I think were funnier than Will Ferrell. I even said, yeah, speaking of Scrooge, I said Bill Murray I think is much funnier. Even though Bill Murray is a dickhead nowadays. I already mentioned about that at the time how he treated Harold Ramis like shit during the making of Groundhog Day. But I said that comedic movies, I think I like Bill Murray much better, you know? From the Ghostbusters movies to Scrooge. What About Bob? So. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Elf. I don't like the film. To me, it sucks. I know. But it's like I said, in my opinion, it sucks. I also mentioned, like, Tim Allen is much more funnier. And speaking of, that's going to be the next Christmas movie Tim Allen we're reviewing next after this. I'm not a fan of the movie either, but I think to me it's much better. It's much better than this movie. Well, better, but still. But anyway, overall, it's just like, James Caan, rest in peace. He did the best he could, though, but I don't buy him redeeming himself by the end of the movie. Zooey Deschanel, I'm not really big on her either. I mean, Ed Asner and Bob Newhart as Santa Claus and the head elf. Forgot the head elf's name though, but they did the best they could. I'm not big on Peter Dinklage, but to me it was funny. To me, the best funny part I got when he beat the shit out of Will Ferrell. I'm like, please beat the shit out of Buddy Moore, please. But yeah. So this is my review of Elf. Jon Favreau, he's done better, too, as well. He's done better. In my opinion, like I said, it's in my opinion. People who like this film, a lot of people like the film, that's fine. I'm not harping on anyone who likes this film. Which I was surprised, the amount of money this film made, I'm surprised this film did not get a sequel. To me, that's surprising to me. But anyway, that's Elf. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next Christmas movie review, and we'll see you next time. Later.